The Mahabharata describes a battlefield nightmare so complex it has captivated military minds for 3 millennia. On the 13th day of the Kurukshetra war, the Kaurava army deployed their ultimate defensive weapon, the Chakravyuh. Their target was a single 16-year-old warrior prodigy named Abhimanyu. He successfully breached the outer gates, only to find the walls of soldiers shifting, sealing, and swallowing him alive. 7 veteran generals surrounded the boy. They shattered his chariot, snapped his bow, and struck him down from behind, torturing him for hours before delivering the final blow. The terrifying design of the trap itself forced this systemic ethical collapse. While folklore describes the Chakravyuh as a magical, static maze, the technical reality is different. Stripped of myth, the formation functions as a highly engineered, self-healing, kinematic machine. By applying modern complex systems theory and rotational kinematics, we can map exactly how this weapon operated on the open field. The math reveals a system where thousands of moving bodies act as gears in a lethal engine, making escape physically and geometrically impossible. To understand the motion of this formation, we have to look past the idea of a standard labyrinth. Concentric rings fail as a military tactic because independent circles isolate troops, cutting off reinforcements and preventing the army from restructuring on the fly. A continuous logarithmic spiral links every soldier into a single, unbroken chain spanning the entire battlefield. This schematic illustrates the organization of the layers. Arrows indicate adjacent rings moving in alternate directions, clockwise, then counterclockwise. When a soldier steps forward to attack, the person behind slides into the void. This single step triggers a continuous chain reaction across all 7 layers simultaneously. This generates a counter-rotating gear effect, where heavy cavalry and armored chariots grind in opposition to the infantry on the perimeter. Through this continuous, synchronized sliding, the army becomes a dynamic fortress that constantly regenerates its own walls. When an invading warrior manages to cut through the first layer, the sliding troops seal the breach. The entry vector vanishes. This maps the psychological attack. The green dot represents the invader against the counter-rotating spirals. Even if that trapped warrior stands perfectly still, the entire environment spins around them. This rotation feeds the invader directly to fresh defenders without taking a single step. The defenders merely shift along their designated arcs, while the invader must fight continuously just to hold their ground. The machine weaponizes relative velocity to drain an opponent's physical and psychological stamina before they can ever threaten the core. Controlling tens of thousands of marching men without the formation tearing itself apart is a massive engineering challenge. The stabilization comes from a mathematical seed, an equilateral triangle mapped perfectly onto the expanding logarithmic spiral. This specific geometry generates D3 rotational symmetry. Structural integrity remains intact regardless of how violently or rapidly the entire formation spins. The anchor for this massive machine is the centroid, the exact mathematical point where the triangle's perpendicular bisectors intersect. The entire multi-layered structure revolves around this central axis point, like a massive, balanced wheel. This geometric foundation allows the army to operate as a single, massive rotating object without buckling under its own momentum. At the center of this wheel sits the commander, acting as the central processing unit for the entire living machine. Using audio signals, heavy drum beats, or the sharp blast of a conch shell, the commander dictates the rotation speed and direction of specific layers. These thick black radio lines represent synchronized shifts ordered by the commander to break the spiral and form physical barricades. As the invader attempts to push inward, these shifting roadblocks strategically funnel them laterally, steering them away from the core and into dead ends. The Chakravyuh functions as a reactive geometric algorithm, actively computing an invader's demise in real time. Abhimanyu survived his initial assault because he had learned the entry vectors as a child, but his knowledge was incomplete. He lacked the algorithmic understanding to predict how the commander would shift the exit paths once he was inside. This diagram reveals how the commander actively fractured the inner layers to trap him. The disconnected black lines show a mathematically generated cage. There was no singular exit for Abhimanyu to find. The paths out of the maze had ceased to exist. Yet, the 16-year-old fought with such ferocious skill against the machine's initial mechanics that the veteran generals at the core panicked. Realizing the boy might survive the algorithm, multiple Kaurava generals abandoned the rules of single combat and attacked him in a synchronized swarm. Cutting down a disarmed teenager from behind violated the sacred code of Kshatriya Dharma. The mathematical trap was so perfectly lethal, it forced its creators into catastrophic moral failure. This tactical event permanently degraded the Kurukshetra war from a noble duel into a lawless slaughterhouse. In Hindu cosmology, this shift in functional entry point of the Kali Yuga, the age defined by moral decay and treachery. This shift in human ethics was initiated by the execution of pure mathematics and structural engineering. This ancient stone relic serves as the precise kinematic blueprint of a complex system. The Chakravyuh remains a testament to what happens when geometric logic is weaponized to destroy both the human body and the human spirit.